Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I am Mohammed Ahmed and this is the AppTechCo Podcast. Today we are talking about something that's going to blow the mind of everyone who is listening in today. You know how people say that telcos need to innovate, telcos need to become techcos, but no one actually talks how? Well, the show is all about that and today's guest is just here to do that. Enlai Chu, this guy has done it all. He's built companies, he's sold them, and now he's leading Productive.ai. An app that is not just another AI buzzword, it's actually giving telcos something that they desperately need. A way to turn their massive underutilized call data into something powerful. Enlai, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very nice to be here, and thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So before we go into the thick of it, before we started, we have a video about Productive AI showing how powerful this tool is, what it does, and how it transforms your everyday calls. So let's watch the video first and we'll come right back.
I'd like to introduce you to Productive, the world's first AI powered by your mobile conversations. Starting with the real and meaningful conversations over the same number you've had for decades. Hey Gabby, how are you?
I'm great. Our team is good to meet Thursday at 2 p.m. And we'd also like to update our quote for an additional 17 users.
Fantastic. I'll email you an update in just a little bit.
Great.
Any plans for the rest of the day?
Yeah, just stepped out for some pho or fa. Anyways, then some dress shopping for my birthday this Saturday, but keep that on the down low.
Will do. And happy early birthday. We'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks. See you then.
You just witnessed, for the first time ever, real-time capture of the richest data source in history, a data set derived from the source of truth. You, your voice, your conversations. That's right. No manual data entry.
Hey boss, I took notes during your conversation with Gabby. I've also updated the service quote for an additional 17 users and drafted an email for you as well. I placed an event in your calendar for Thursday at 2 p.m. And I've ensured your CRM has been updated with all these details, including a task for you to follow up with Gabby.
Thanks, Gabby. An AI for any career, any passion, any lifestyle. Just speak to one another. Another human, and Productive will do the rest. Oh, how rude. Allow me to introduce myself. I am...
So, I've got to say that Enlai, your app is basically turning telcos into data powerhouses overnight. And I love that because, let's be real, telcos have been sitting on gold mines of call data and no one has actually been touching that data like that. So let's start from the beginning. When did you realize that we can actually turn this thing into a game changer for telcos?
So thank you. So I've been in telecom for about 25 years. At a previous startup, we were one of the first to innovate in group messaging back in 2007 when that didn't exist. We were also one of the first virtual number providers. The company was called 3Jam. And really what I learned as part of 3Jam was the genesis of this idea, which was that people were utilizing their cell phone for more than just personal use. They were using it for their work. And they wanted new features. They wanted to be able to do more in their calls. And most importantly, the information from their conversations, which is what you refer to as the data, was being lost. The minute you hang up the phone call, if you hadn't written it down or if you hadn't remembered or tried to memorize everything, it was completely gone. But they didn't want to have to utilize another second phone number just to be able to get these features and be able to collect this data. So we were trying to figure out how we could do this on the existing cell phone number. And fast forward to today, we're now able to enable people to utilize the data from their conversations in AI to automate their work as you talk. And as you know, today with AI, data is the new oil. And so we want to enable telcos to help people to utilize the data from their conversations to do with it anything that they want, whether it's to automate work, whether it's to get insights, whether it's to just remember and retrieve information, very much like you can go to text messages and emails and retrieve that information. You can now do that with your phone calls.
Perfect, perfect. Thanks for explaining that, Enlai. And I believe this is something that we all have been, struggling with, and we all have been thinking that, coming off of calls, of meetings, what to do with the data if we are looking to schedule a meeting or something like that. I believe this is something big that we're talking about. You talked about 3Jam, so let me just, touch on it a bit. How did your time at 3Jam shape your approach to solving this problem?
Yeah, so great question, because again, we were innovating very early on when virtual phone numbers came online. And this means you could have both voice and messaging that's programmable to allow developers to create any type of applications that people wanted. This allowed us to start innovating in several types of feature sets. The groups were signaling, which means that things, allowing you to forward your calls to different phone numbers, very similar to what Google Voice does, right? Multi-ring phones, be able to play greetings to callers. But then there's the other part, which is the information that's exchanged on a call and trying to figure out how to use that information in your workflows. And then there was a third part of it, which was integrating with the applications that you already use in your workflow, so that you don't become this manual bridge between the phone call and the application. One of the most commonly used applications in business is the CRM. And today, the human is the data entry mechanism for the CRM. Not only do you take notes during the call, but you have to spend 5 to 10 minutes after the call to update your notes or your CRM and organize that information. And so we wanted to then figure out how to tie all of these pieces together, so it became a cohesive, seamless workflow where you didn't need to have to open an app. You didn't need to have to, tap anything after the phone call. You could literally just talk and have all of these pieces, flow end to end. And really, this was the value that we decided that we needed to build as a result of experimenting with a bunch of features, while we were at 3Jam.
Well, yeah, well, I think that's great to hear. Let's talk about a bit from the telco perspective now. When you were starting it, what were the biggest gaps in telco call management that made you go that, all right, I've got to go ahead and fix this?
So I think the biggest gap is the ability to utilize that data from the calls. There's no APIs available for any third-party application to be able to get into and utilize into the calls and utilize the call data. So for any developer that wanted to innovate in this, in this arena, they couldn't. One of the analogies that we always use is that you might have heard of these note taker apps and summarization apps for conference calls, whether it's Zoom or Meets or Teams. And the reason why there's dozens of players in that market is because the access to that data from the recordings of the conversations on Zoom are available, or the ability to join a conversation as a note taker. There's really no barrier to entry there, and so for the cell phone call, it's different because the apps just can't get in to innovate on the phone call.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's something that's really important. But let's break it down a bit more. Let me ask you, a one-liner here. What's the number one thing that makes Productive AI a no-brainer for telcos?
The world is going more mobile. I think COVID was one of these, factors that kicked us off. People are not working at their desk all the time. They're hybrid or they're completely mobile. And actually, this hasn't changed for a very long time. About 50% of the population doesn't sit in front of Zoom all day. And this is really an insight because this is an underserved population that is the heaviest user of the mobile call, because they're not at their computer and they're commuting and they're trying to remain productive while they're on the road. So I think this insight is really that there's an opportunity here to provide a service to them, to this demographic, in order to either increase ARPU, differentiate, or to reduce churn, and really think about the value that an operator can provide to an end user by offering these features that help them to either capture more value or eradicate inefficiencies in their workflow.
Great. I think this is something that most executives or even people doing calls on a personal level have been, talking about, that this is something they have been missing, especially after COVID-19. But you see, like at the end of the day, it's all about business and money. So, we know that telcos already have customer data, but most of it, like from where I see it, it sits there collecting dust. How does your app actually turn that data into money for them?
Yeah. So when we think about how data is being used today and how AI, which ties into the data, is being used today, operators are using this for their operations. So whether it's AI for network traffic optimization or customer service automation, they haven't yet tapped into the opportunity of providing value to the end user in a way that the end user is willing to purchase these features that's going to change their lives. And I think that's the monetization of the existing voice infrastructure, the basic voice service, we call it, that's on every single phone. That's the big opportunity here. So what we think the paradigm shift, or how the mental shift should be for an operator, is to start going, how do I utilize this data from a customer's perspective, i.e. let the customer use their data in order to provide these high value services to the customer. And I think that mental shift is where it unlocks really a blue ocean of opportunity here, because I think that is currently untapped.
Yeah, I believe I would totally agree with that. And this is something that the telcos I've seen have been concerned about lately, as this, shift has been coming. If I ask you, let's say I am a telco executive listening right now, what's the one KPI that Productive AI would immediately improve for me?
So I would say that from our conversations with the operators, it's differentiation. And I think it's pretty obvious, because today a subscriber can switch from operator A to B and almost literally get the exact same features. They don't get worse calls, they don't get worse messaging, they don't get worse data. And so this is the big part of the impetus, or the motivation for an operator to start looking outside of this transport layer that they are today, to elevate themselves into being a data player, an information player, and an application player, which is really where all the value is being created with AI today. I keep talking about AI because this is the future. We all know this is the future. We can discuss when AGI is going to get here, but I think it's pretty clear from all the AI leaders that it's going to be here. And so if we look forward into when AGI is available, whether it's 2006, 2026, 2027, or sooner, what's the world look like? When AI agents, which is the other big piece of this AI, value proposition, are here, what does this world look like? And so we think from an operator perspective, it's having a strategy now of, again, elevating into the application layer so they can really ride this generative AI revolution that's, I think, passing them by.
Yeah, well, AI is something. Yeah, we all agree with that. This is the future. But this brings a question in my mind. As you see that when it comes to AI, there are a lot of ways that people use AI and utilize it in their own ways. What's the most surprising way a telco or a user has used your app that even you didn't expect?
So, this is great. This is a great question. We've been building this application, there's a two-pronged approach here. before we could even bring a product to market, we had to figure out how we could get into the call flow such that the user's experience doesn't change. Because learning a new application, especially for somebody that's not technical and trying to leverage AI, requires the seamless integration so that their behavior doesn't have to change, but they get all the value of this intelligence. So when we first built this, the thought was, how do we get into the phone call? And the second is the feature sets that we thought people would need. And the feature sets, and I think this is from personal experience, is trying to remember information and not have to take notes if I wasn't able to. And so it was just about recording the conversation so I could revisit information that I might have missed. And so that's what we released. That was our first version of the product, was just being able to record a cell phone call, which is surprisingly difficult. You might think that this is available, but it's actually quite difficult. But our users told us, love it. I can go back and remember information, but I don't listen to hours of conversation. And so they said, can you transcribe it so I can just scan for information? And we said, yeah, absolutely. And of course, the challenge was in a telephony service, you don't know what languages are going to be spoken. Yes, in the United States, it's going to be English and Spanish, but if you want to provide a service that anyone can use, you have to service multiple languages, and you have to do this in real time. So that was the other learning, was that people just wanted to be able to scan the information. Now, once we did that, they said, okay, I still don't want to read my transcripts. I want you to extract the insights from them. And this is where AI came in. And we said, okay, we're just going to mimic you taking notes, but the AI is going to do it for you. Once we did that, that was a game changer. But once we did that, people said, all right, now I have to take this information and store it somewhere. I don't want it to be stuck in my phone. I want it to go to either my note app, that I use, or in my CRM, which is what my company expects me to update after all these conversations. And so we had to build out step after step a complete workflow to truly provide this service, for people to be willing to pay for. This was a note-taking application, which is a productivity base. But the insights that people actually told us was that they were using it for not just productivity, but for compliance-driven reasons. For example, insurance agents are using it because by law, if you have a conversation with somebody with Medicare or Medicaid, that you have to record these conversations. And we didn't know that before we started. And then we also had people tell us that they were using it as a CYA. They, for the very first time, they were able to protect themselves from a lawsuit or a dispute when a phone conversation happened. A client might say, hey, you didn't disclose this to me and you're supposed to do this. And the only way our users could protect themselves is by being able to produce evidence that they had done what they were supposed to do. But again, these tools don't exist on your cell phone call today. So we really learned about these other avenues of value besides productivity.
Great. Well, I think I should thank you for, walking us through this journey, listening to how, the app has evolved over time. And this shows that how, flexible this new saga is, and how, we can bring value to the customers or the companies by listening to them. Now, I would like to, talk, I think, about a bit more towards, how we can enable telcos and connectivity providers. So can you tell me, how does your app help the telcos from being just traditional telcos to evolving into techcos? How does your app help them to make that jump in that direction?
So I think what our app does best is act like a bridge between this phone call and the applications that are out there today. It allows the operator to not have to pick one company, whether it's a large language model, whether it's an AI agent, whether it's a CRM that they want to work with. Because what we learned was that everybody has a workflow that's going to be different than the next person. And so we're really a platform that lets operators enable users to choose what they want to use in their workflow. How we look at the call is in three parts. There's actually a pre-call part, i.e. before the user answers the phone call, there's a feature set that's actually available that might be able to screen unknown callers, and I might only want to let a certain type of caller through and not say solicitation calls. And that's before your phone rings. The second part, during the call, which is all the things you can do, meaning an ambient AI agent could be helping you while you have the conversation, whether it's retrieving information and whispering in your ear, or coaching you, or just simply taking notes. That part is during the conversation. And then there's a post-call assistant, which is able to help you after the phone call. So the idea with that is that in order for you to have a truly hands-free experience, for example, if you're driving, you're able to take notes after the conversation so that you're able to dump that information from your brain, if you will, because the next call that comes in, if you're still driving, that the information from your previous call is probably going to be forgotten. So you're able to interact with the AI in order to do the work after your call. The AI might say, hey, I detected 3 tasks. This is task A, would you like me to do it? This is task B, would you like me to create this new lead in your CRM? Task C, would you like me to draft a follow-up thank you email? What would you like it to say in addition to this draft I've already created? So you can have a voice conversation without having to do anything else besides stay on the phone call after the other side hangs up.
Great. I think after even watching the video, we see that there are some big CRMs that are also compatible with Productive.ai, and this is something I think that I feel is a game changer here. Okay, so let me ask you a question here, Enlai. If you were running a telco yourself, what's the first thing you would do with your application?
So I think the first thing that I would do with my application would be to enable users to utilize the phone call like they use email and messaging, which is to have a inbox for their phone calls that users can reference and that can search, so that these conversations can be preserved. Because with this data, and only with this data, can the users start to use AI with the data during runtime or inference time? Meaning, if a telco were to think about how AI is going to be used, the user today is acting like that prompt engineer. The user is doing work to get the AI to do work. So by first helping users to capture and organize this data, they're going to be able to then layer on these AI features because the AI features are built on the data that the user has.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great insight. I think then your telco is going to go ways if you're looking at it from that perspective. Following up with this question, can you give me 3 things a telco CEO listening right now can do immediately to get value from this?
So I think the telcos could first offer a business grade cell phone call service that separates itself from a consumer grade cell phone service. And we think that this is an opportunity for the operators to, again, differentiate from all of the other offerings out there but also provide value-added services they can layer on top of basic voice. I think that's the first thing that they can do. The second thing is they can start approaching their enterprise users and business users in order to add more value to these users, and in return get retention. One of the key learnings that we had is it's like email. Once you start using an email provider and you start aggregating emails, it's very hard to switch to a different email provider. And in this case, this data will act like a way for users to archive the information. And I think that's been shown to be very sticky. The third thing they can do is to think about what their users need. And who they want to focus on, whether it's a specific demographic like doctors or construction industry or insurance, real estate, business owners. They can think about the value and the feature sets that those industries will need. We think that this product that we built is extremely broad because it was designed to just add intelligence to phone calls. And so every industry will value a different value proposition and feature set. And we can help the operators think through their go-to-market if they decide to add intelligence to their cell phone calls.
Great. I think I'm really excited to hear about the services that they're given to a personal user, the level of services that is there, and how the data is collected and everything. I think it gets me excited as well. But as we're talking about telcos, I can not resist the urge to talk about some legacy systems as well, and legacy telcos. How does Productive AI work with legacy systems? Because I would imagine that there are a lot of companies that are there out and they would be like, we've got 20-year-old systems. How do we integrate this AI into our systems?
Yeah, great question. In fact, if we think about what legacy systems are, before cell phones, there were landlines. We're actually working with not just mobile operators, but landline or fixed line providers, because not only do mobile professionals need this service, but someone who's working in an office who still has a desk phone would also like the set of features. So if we think about that as a legacy, or one of the pillars of the legacy segment, we are already working with providers that have fixed services. I think the other part is that because a lot of the systems today are moving or have moved over to voice over IP, this is really the opportunity to insert the intelligence, because it's increasingly easy with IMS systems, voice over IP systems, to pull in the additional feature servers or the feature sets extremely easily. So we've been working with vendors like Cisco in order to bring this product to market for their customers.
Let me ask you a fun question here. What's the total misconception telcos have about AI that drives you crazy every time?
I think that the misconception is that they can't participate in this revolution the way that application builders are. I think that they think it's too early. I think they think it's a lot of work, or they don't know what products are going to be of value. And the reason I say that is because the companies that are building on top of AI are solving real problems today with today's LLMs. And if you can think back in the last few days or the last few weeks, how quickly these models improve, really, there's no time to lose. They can't be waiting for this AI to mature. It's mature enough, and they have to skate to the puck. And they can actually do this with real products relatively easily today.
Wow, I think that's a great answer. I think you've hit the nail on its head. But I have a follow up. Like it comes into my mind that we say, and there's a lot of talk about AI and saying that AI is the future. But I would like to ask you, what would happen if the telcos they do not adopt to tools like yours? What's the risk for them? What do you think about that?
I would say the biggest risk is getting left behind because we know telcos who are doing this. So I think the biggest risk is letting the competition move past you with an AI offering and an AI strategy.
Okay, then let's move forward 10 years now. What does the telco industry look like if every major player fully integrates an app like yours?
I think it's true automation. What I mean is the ability to have a full 360 of data that enables your AI assistant, again, whichever AI assistant you choose, to automate your work. The phone calls today, the cell phone calls today are really the gap in this data. Emails, messages, conference calls, in-person meetings. These are spaces where companies are already capturing the data and enabling people to utilize that data. And this is really the opportunity, is to fill that last gap with high value data.
Great. I think now I think I should like tap into some of the inside news as well, get something out for this podcast. What's the next killer feature in Productive AI that telcos should be excited about?
So I won't disclose what is coming, but what I think the future is going to look like is users being able to design their own features. Ultimately, as I mentioned before, everybody has a different workflow, and they should be able to, with generative AI, describe the features that they want and just have it happen. And we're seeing this already with the coding assistants that can create an application for you. We're seeing with all these voice interactions that are able to, get agents, teams of agents to do work for you. So we think it's going to where the user designs their own feature sets on their calls.
Wow, I believe that's amazing. I think you've got what we wanted here. Thank you for that. One more question that I would like to ask about this whole thing that we have been speaking. What's the one thing that you think that the telcos should be doing with AI right now that most of them aren't doing at this point?
I would say that they should be talking to companies that are thinking about how to bridge this existing form of communication with the new world. I think it's a company, and I'm not saying it has to be us, but I think it's a company that is looking at this from not a single component point of view, but from a holistic view, where the customer journey throughout this, the life of a phone call, if we're talking about the phone call, could twist and turn in different ways and be able to leverage the different types of AI along each of these turns. So I think it's not going to be a player that is specialized in a component, but a player that is an integrator or an application creator that's going to be able to bring in the best of breed of these types of systems in a seamless way.
Yeah, well, I think that is something that can actually really be done at this point of time that will transform things. But for executives who are, watching right now, that's still like, we might not need this, or do we need this? What's your mic drop moment for them? Like, what would you say about the app to make them go from, we don't need this to, yeah, we need this right now?
I'm saying, so we're seeing that users are willing to spend double-digit numbers above their existing cell phone plan for this automation value that's provided by AI. So an operator that might be, in the $40 or $50 ARPU range can look at a $20 bump in ARPU with the right feature set.
All right, great. I think this would really actually push them to go ahead and move forward if they're still unsure about it. But Enlai, I believe this has been awesome, and for all the telco executives who are listening out there, this sounds incredible. But where do we start? Like, what's the first step to getting productive AI into their business? What's the first step they should take?
Well, we'd love to talk to anybody that's interested in the future of communication, the future of where AI is going. We love to brainstorm. We love to present solutions. And yeah, we're open, and we'd love to talk to any telcos that are looking to lead in their field with AI.
Great, perfect. Let me just dive a bit deeper into this. If a telco wants to test drive your app, what would be the easiest way for them to do it?
So I would say talk to us, because we are actually building and have a version of the application that's not yet public. So I would say to please reach out to us, because we'll show them where things are going.
So my last question, it will be a bit on a different note. I would like to ask you, what's the one productivity hack that you swear by that has nothing to do with AI?
I would say power naps. So I work not just on North America time, but global time, and the only way I can do that is taking power naps.
Great. I think we have found a mutual productivity hack. Don't we all love power naps? That's great. Enlai, thank you so much for breaking this all down. I believe it's very clear to everyone now that productive AI isn't just a nice to have application. This will be the future of telcos. And for all the executives listening out there, if you would like to stay ahead, you should be thinking about this now. And once again, Enlai, towards the very end, I would like to thank you for your time breaking this journey down for us, letting us and helping us understand how productive AI works.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You're most welcome. So, all right, everyone, that is a wrap for today's episode. Until next time, stay curious, keep innovating, and don't let your data go to waste. Have a good one.